Disorientation is a common part of the awakening process. Once we are starting to awaken, we're starting to access our true self, our true being, awareness, whatever you want to call it. We are then going to start to get confused and disorientated at times as things are integrating and as we're trying to function in the world. So perhaps things can be pretty clear and not as disorientating when we're on our meditation cushion. But once we try to then apply that in the world to something as simple as a social engagement, working, going to the supermarket even, things can get a little distorted or confused or disorientating, and we can feel a bit anxious about how to cope and how to interact in the world as we're going through this very immensely changing, evolving, very dramatic change that is happening on the inside. And so disorientation is very common. I remember often it would happen around the supermarket for me for some reason, not sure why. But there would be times where I didn't know where I parked my car, or I would get to my car and I didn't know how to open the door, or I would sit in the car and I wouldn't know how to start the car. And weird things like that would happen. So around doing very practical things that I'd been doing for many years, all of a sudden it just felt like almost like how I imagine dementia might feel, where it's just something is just not clicking together and there's no capacity to know what to do next. And this is actually pretty common. It might sound a little concerning, but it actually is pretty common in awakening to have moments where we don't know what to do next as things are shifting and changing internally for us, and we're having more access to our true self, which is this very vast empty space. It's formless. It can affect the way that we operate on a human level day to day. And in the end, it's all integrated and you function just fine. But as you're going through the process of awakening, there certainly can be times where we are feeling quite disorientated. It could be when we're driving, maybe we don't know what direction we're going in. We can forget a lot of things. The memory is highly affected in a lot of people, myself included, during the awakening process. If you think about just how much change is going on internally, then it does make sense that there's going to be some disorientation at times. So the mind is being rewired in a sense. It is changing dramatically what is going on in there. But everything is changing. The nervous system is changing. There's things being released from the body, all kinds of contractions and patterns. And you're getting deeper access into who you fundamentally are. And so that is going to change how you feel and how you respond to people and how you act socially. And it's going to change everything. And the further you go in the process, we go through deepening states and more changes happen. And so you may feel like you sort of master one thing only to find out you go deeper into your being and you have to sort of relearn it in a way or stumble your way through it again. And that is just a part of the awakening process. We have to learn how to integrate it through being in the world and just doing things and figuring it out on the fly. And so at times, there might be times where you feel like, I don't know what to do next, or I can't remember what I'm supposed to say here or do here. And if you have the capacity, depending on what the situation is, I suggest if you're feeling confused like that you just sit down. If you're in a shopping center or in your car, or just pull over. It will pass, and just trust it. Don't fight it. nothing to be worried about. It's totally natural. And sort of just pull over and just wait for that energy to pass until it comes back to you as to what to do next. And try not to freak out. I know it can be scary. So we just wait it out. We just trust the process. And most of the time, it's totally fine. It might just be today, I don't feel like I can drive because that just feels a bit dangerous. I just feel quite disorientated today. So, okay, don't drive, make other arrangements. So, we need to be careful, perhaps, but you'll be fine in the end. It's just there's so much adjustment happening internally that how could it not affect just how we're operating in the world from time to time? It's just every now and then. But what it really affects is perhaps at work or socially or even with strangers is our interaction with other people is where we really notice this. And this is because our conditioned responses, how we would normally respond to someone, what we would normally say, these patterns are breaking, and we don't go straight into operating in the way that we used to before in all types of situations dealing with other people. And so we might find weird things come out, weird things are said, or often nothing is said, and it's just complete silence. It's quite unpredictable, and it's finding its way, and it's not going to be like that forever. It's just, again, it's sort of because you're going through this transformation and still having to operate in the world, there's going to be some moments where things are seemingly awkward or weird, and you just learn how to sort of get through them and navigate, and don't expect anyone to understand or that you need to explain it to anyone because they're probably not going to understand, but you just sort of learn how to go with the flow of it, and it can become quite interesting in a way. But you might notice your personality is changing, and people that are very close to you, they might find that concerning. It makes sense that they would. Your sense of humor can change. What you like to talk about will change. It's unbelievable the transformation that goes on, and so of course it's going to make everything that you do different, and it's going to keep on changing as you keep evolving through this wonderful process. And so just when you think you've got the hang of something, then you'll sort of get tested again as you go through a deeper layer, and it will say, how about now with this deeper realization that you've had? Do you know how to operate in the world now? Can you go to the supermarket now? And so again, we get to try it out. And so there's many times where we might feel, I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know what happens next. There's we can be grasping at that old way of where we felt like we knew how to do things, and we knew what was true, and we knew how the world operates, and we didn't realize we had created this in us to make us feel safe, that this is the way that things go. I say this, you say this, that makes us all feel safe. And those things are breaking within us. We're becoming unpredictable. We don't know what's going to be said when we open our mouth. Most of the time, it's usually pretty mundane, and it just goes into, it's not like anything crazy. But there can be some weird times as we're adjusting where maybe nothing comes out and nothing is said, and it's a little weird. And in the end, it all works out okay, I promise. It's just a phase as we're integrating deeper realizations and going deeper into awareness, deeper into our being. We're emptying out, and everything on the inside is changing because of that. And so then the way that we act in the world is going to change, and then in that we're going to feel disorientated and confused at our own behavior. I remember once in a supermarket, there was someone that I always used to go and say hello to if I saw, and I saw him and I just turned and walked away. No explanation, no understanding why, but these very strange things can happen when you're operating from truth. And that is it. You don't just go back into whatever your behaviors were before. So perhaps you've got conditioning about, I have to say a certain thing when I see a certain person, or I have to people please. I have to go into that patterning and make this person like me, or whatever it is. When that programming's been deleted, you feel a little vulnerable trying to communicate with other people. You feel a bit lost, and you sort of bumble your way through it, and you learn a few things, and you learn more as you go. But it is certainly weird to not have that predictable nature of conditioning that was there before, that always gave the same response and did the same thing. That's not there. And so you feel like you're sort of left out floating and a bit lost, which is what makes us feel disorientated and confused. But it's all good. It's a part of awakening. It's quite natural. It won't be there forever. You just find a way to manage it when it does arise, whether you need to take a break or not drive, or get someone to help you. And you just sort of make your way through it as you learn how to be in the world in an awake way.